Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Today's video I'm doing a book review. I haven't done a book review in a while, but I'm really excited about this book because I was just... Guys, okay, all seriousness. Since I started BookTube, I've really struggled with books that are in the fantasy genre. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I didn't want to push myself and I see big names of people's names and places, which is really awesome, but I put myself off because I'm like, oh, I can't pronounce that, and then it freaks me out. Now I know I can read fantasy books, I was getting very excited. So I picked up The Young Elites by Marie Lu. Now Marie Lu is the author of the Legend series, Legend, Prodigy and Champion, and I read those in the summer and fell in love. So I already knew her writing style was amazing. And then I heard about this book, The Young Elites, and I was like, ooh, okay, it's a fantasy. And the cover's amazing. We'll go into that in a minute. But let me just tell you what this book is about, non-spoiler I'm going to tell you non-spoilery what this is about first. So it's about a girl, and basically she's marked. So back in the day there was this fever that went round, and the children, if they didn't die, they got marked. And if you got marked, you could turn into a person with supernatural abilities. So that was the first thing that really caught my mind. So it's about this girl, a girl called Adelina, I think that's how I pronounce her name, her mother died during this fever, and she and her sister survived, and the dad survived. Obviously he didn't get ill and he didn't die. So now she's living in this world where the dad really hates her for some reason. He's horrible to her, but to her sister, who appears unmarked, he's lovely to her, and she always knows she's always a bit dark inside due to all these problems, and she tries to run away and she gets caught and she kills her dad in a freak way, and she gets caught up by this government that take her in and they're gonna execute her, and during the day of her execution she's tied up to the stake and something crazy happens. There are assassins that come by and save her, but they're not like normal people, they have abilities, and it's just crazy, guys. You need to check this book out if you think that sounds good. But anyway, can we just talk about this cover for a second? This cover, right, let me just zoom in. This cover is gorgeous. The Young Elites, look at this cover. I don't know if it's going to be the wrong way around for you guys, but I love the typography, I love how simple it is, I love the dagger, because the dagger really means something in the book. And it's just gorgeous. And also, guys, books with maps in, map books. Everybody loves a good map book. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Am I right? So now I'm going to go into the bit of the spoilery, the bit of the book talk part now. So if you guys haven't read the book, leave now, but definitely go and check this out. I will leave the book depository link down below so you can get it for free shipping. But goodbye! Goodbye! Guys, if you've read this book, how amazing was it? It was so good, right? Okay, so when we found out that Adelina, she was a illusionist, she could make illusions, we were thinking, oh my god, this is awesome, that's a really cool power, but is it active? Can she hurt people with it? Is it quite like can she use it to defend herself against people? Because a lot of people are after her. She got away from the execution and now people are after her because they're like, hold on a minute, Malfito, that's how I pronounce it. They are like, you know, if you're a Malfito, you need to die, and you don't run away from the Inquisition when you are gonna get executed. So people are after her, and I'm thinking, god, can she use the illusions to kill people or hurt people? I'm like, oh no. And then she's having problems using her power. And she's like, god, why am I having problems using our powers? She's learning all about this world and about these people who have all these powers, because she's becoming a young elite, so she's going through tests. And I love, by the way, guys, love that idea. I love the idea of the stones, her having to pick out the stones, and it was really cool that the stones kind of represent the children of the gods. And then she picks the Fury one and the Passion one, and she's like, ah, and then they're like, oh, she's dark inside, and can they trust her, can they not? And it's like, ah, yes, I can't trust her because she's dark, and you're reading her dark thoughts. I am literally thinking, god, is she ever going to use her powers for good? Until she starts training with Enzo, and I'm like, oh cool, Enzo's clearly the romance, he's clearly amazing. He's like a guy that can control fire, and he's like very powerful, because if you can control fire you can kind of do anything. And she had previously heard about Enzo the Reaper, because obviously from the news that she heard about people getting burnt from the inside. She's like, okay. So when she finally met him, I think she was a bit nervous, a bit scared, but anyway, they're being trained together, and he's being a bit harsh compared to Raphael, who was being kind of calm and taking his time because he didn't want to push her, because he was aware of how dark she was inside. So Enzo's like throwing fire at her, and she's starting to like use her powers, and then she's getting stronger. Now the one problem I did have is that whole, her powers, you know, getting stronger and being able to use them, that happened really quickly, and I wish it got dragged out a little bit more, because you know I'm like with powers, guys, I love anything with magic, powers, supernatural abilities, you know, and that's my favourite part of the book, so I did wish it got dragged out a bit. But what was amazing is this book actually had the right amount of ability use, if you get me. So we had loads of Malfetos, the young elites. We had the Windwalker, who was personally my favourite, because she / he, I can't remember if it's a she or he, oh my gosh, they can basically they can control the wind, and it's really cool, and that's what I want to be able to do. And then we have obviously Enzo, who's the Reaper, he can control fire, and then we have Gemma, who she can connect with animals and she can kind of talk to them and control animals, I believe. And then we had the Spider, who was like really quick, fast, and amazing, but you know, of course we had Mr. Terren, he was like the Inquisitor, or whatever you want to call him. He was like that big guy who was trying to get Adeline back to kill her. But he kind of makes a plan with her and is using her, saying, give us the details or I won't kill your sister, because he now has Violet, her sister, in prison, and you're thinking, oh my god, is she gonna die? Does he really have her in prison? And then we find out that he does, and I'm like, oh my lord. And can we just talk about the whole scene where she's out on the pier and she's using her power to like make her look invisible, and she's like, and then there's fire, and then she gets caught by Tyrion. He grabs her by the neck and he says, you didn't come and see me, I'm gonna kill your sister. And she's like, no, give me another week. And he says, you had 3 days. I'm like, god, 3 days, that's not long. But suddenly she's able to find out all the details in 3 days. I'm thinking, interesting. But I really like at the end, that scene between Tyrion and Enzo when they're having that fight, because he obviously says when they're like, oh, we'll have a duel, and you know, if I win then you leave us alone, you give us back Raphael, because he had Raphael at this point and he's, you know, abducted him. And he's like, yeah, but if you win and I die, that means that, you know, I die, so whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Enzo's actually the prince, so he's actually the key to the throne. So they're having this big duel, and then, you know, stupid Alina gets involved. Oh, I keep pronouncing her name differently in this video. She gets involved, and then she's like, and then I'm like, what the hell? And she helps kill Enzo, because she thinks Enzo is Terren, I feel like it's Terren. And I'm like, oh my god, what have you done, Enzo? He's practically your love interest, guys. What the hell is going on? So anyway, at this point, she has saved Violet. And Violet turns out to be a Malfeto, whatever you want to call it. And she has the power or the ability to take other people's powers. So it's like, oh my god, no wonder Adelina hasn't used her powers before, and she you know, her powers become active late, because her sister Violet's been hiding it her whole life. And then you think, for God's sake, why is Violet not, you know, poor Violet's been getting all the love and attention from the father, where Adelina has been hated on and punished and ridiculed, and then those two, you can tell that's going to cause a bit of friction. But anyway, of course, Enzo dies, he gets killed, or does he? He does get killed, we know that. And the epilogue is a scene set in a different town with another very powerful lady who can bring people back from the dead. And you had previously heard about these necromancers, or whatever you want to call them, during the beginning of the story, and you're thinking, oh my god, what if she comes back and she revives Enzo? Because Enzo and her had a kind of pact, didn't they, where if Enzo came back into power, they would keep the trading between the two towns or something like that. So she's clearly going to go over there, take a little visit. Well, this is my prediction anyway. Enzo's going to come back, but he's going to come back different, and then we need to have a new love interest, so I'm hoping a new boy comes in, because we always have a love triangle in these kind of books. We have a new boy that comes in for Adelina. By the way, I love the fact that we had like LGBT relationships, we had relationships of all kind. I thought it was really nicely done. It was just, you know, very casual. It's like nothing to worry about. This is all the same, which was brilliant. Overall, guys, I know I've just screamed things at you, but I finished this yesterday. I read this in a day, so you can tell how much I loved it. But have you read this book? Guys, well, I suppose if you're watching this part, you've probably read the book. But let me know down in the comments below what you thought, because I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Honestly, a fantasy book which I read in a day, which I really enjoyed, was amazing. So I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And just as much as I loved the Legend series by Marie Lu. So I'm really excited about the next one, but we've got to wait ages for it. 5 out of 5 stars, 100%. The cover, the book, the story, the writing, everything was amazing. Okay, question for you to answer down below. If you could be a young elite, what would your power be? Now, I really like the idea of the Windwalker. I really like that idea of being able to control the wind. But I've come to the conclusion that I would like to control temperature. So I'd like to, you know, be able to heat things up and freeze things down. So yeah, that would be my, if I could control the temperature. Now, obviously, there's loads more detail about this book, which I haven't got into because I want you guys to maybe reread it. We can all reread it together in the future sometime. Very Lou, The Young Elite is one of my favourite books ever, and that's why I'm reviewing it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Very different. I know I've just talked really fast at you and spitted out all of the words, but you can understand what I'm talking really fast because you can just slow down. Can you slow down? I don't know. Can you slow down? But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely give this a thumbs up if you like this book as well, or if you're going to read this book, and I will speak to you soon. Bye-bye!